Drafting the Magic features the thoughts and opinions expressed by Christian Ilton, Eric Pessolano, and today's guest, and do not in any way reflect the views or opinions of the Walt Disney Company or any of its subsidiaries.
You know, I can't remember the last time I lost 4 in a row, anything.
No pick-me-up basketball games or anything like that?
No, it's been decades. Is my get not even like tic-tac-toe or Mech 4, anything like that.
Well, here you are.
Yeah, trying to pick myself back up, dust off, and get things back to the way it should be, the rightful order.
Otherwise,
of drafting the Magic.
5 in a row. Ooh, that could be bad.
Could be bad. I think it might be the worst. But actually, you know what's worse than losing 5 in a row, though, right?
6 in a row?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Very good. I like how we're on the same page already.
Well, hey, I got to get to 5 first before we can even think about 6, and that's my goal today. And I'm excited about today's episode. We are doing hotels and resorts of the Walt Disney Company in the United States, because it was originally going to be a Walt Disney World show. We teased it last week, but we thought, wait a second, when else are we going to use the California hotels? Because we can't do a full 10 spread. So I liked your idea.
Surprise, everyone. We're throwing in the California hotels also. But yeah, I mean, I figured it only made sense. There's only 3 of them. We can throw them into the mix. And, you know, I think allowing them to be part of the pool here this week is what's going to allow us to put in a couple of pretty cool rules.
We'll see if it's the one thing that allows you to win. So we'll see if that gives you an edge as well. I'm excited. It's been a fun couple weeks of doing this in a row and winning. I will see if that continues. And Eric, I think we have an exciting guest judge on tabs today. I am excited to welcome Tony Barnes from Mouse Park Insider into our show. And Tony, we are so glad to have you. Welcome to the show, man.
Oh, guys, I am so excited too. Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to be a judge and let you guys know how I feel.
Yeah, well, that seems to be the consensus around here. They always let us know how they feel. And I've been on the short end of the stick the last few weeks, as you probably know. But I need to ask this because now I'm vetting all the judges as they come onto our airwaves. What makes you qualified to know about the resorts and hotels of the Walt Disney Company here in the United States?
I'm definitely not qualified at all. You guys probably should have picked someone else. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, half the fun of planning a Disney trip is deciding what resort you're going to stay at. Just even my wife, it's our anniversary this week, and she got me a bunch of H2O soap from the Disney resorts. So I'm pretty excited. When you guys told me this was the topic, I got pretty stoked. So
that's awesome.
So I feel good about it then, Christian. I think you can finally start looking over your shoulder for once.
Oh, boy. Well, we'll see. But Tony, before we get to the draft, tell us a little bit about Mouse Park Insider, the podcast you guys do, and how it got started and where you guys are at now.
Yeah, so pretty much it kind of started. I was taking some social media courses just for kind of fun. And one of my assignments was I had to do like a little mini podcast. And there's nothing that I like more than Disney. So I decided just to kind of do that for fun. And my professor kind of said, you should maybe actually kind of do this. So I was, talking to my wife, Danny, who's my co-host. I was like, I really want to do this podcast. And she's like, no. And I'm like, well, what if I bring you on board? And then she's like, yeah, sure. Absolutely. Let's do it. So we started back in January, and every week, every Monday we have a new episode and, new topics, new discussions. And yeah, it's growing and I couldn't be happier with it.
See, so folks, there you go. Right after you see our topic reveal every single Monday, you got to go over to Mouse Park Insider, check out what Danny and Tony are putting up. Danny might be joining the show in a couple of weeks too, so stay tuned for that as well. But Eric, are you ready? Are we ready to roll with this draft?
I am ready to roll. And let me tell you one thing. This is something that this being a podcast, our listeners cannot see this during this Zoom call. I'm looking in the background on the wall behind Tony over there. And let me tell you why I feel like this is a good omen for me. First of all, you've got the Face of the Small World clock right behind him there.
Yeah.
That is a place that I spent part of my Disney career at. You've got R2-D2, C-3PO, and BB-8 right over your right shoulder there. I spent some time also working over at Star Tours. And then you have the stretching room posters right behind your head, which is my favorite attraction of all time, the Haunted Mansion. I'm feeling real good about this already. We haven't even started.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we love to show off our wall.
That's a pretty nice wall, man. I will give you that. All right, let's go over the rules, Eric. As always, our number one rule, you have to have experienced the pick. Now, that doesn't mean we have to have stayed at that resort, but we need to have walked inside, looked at it, maybe dined there, or maybe just played in the elevators and, tried to see how many elevator stops you could get. But I think that was a important adjustment to the rule we had.
Yeah, a little bit of an adjustment here. I mean, obviously, none of us have broken the bank in our lives. We're not going to be able to stay at all these places yet. Maybe one day. But we had to have at least stepped foot inside of them and seen what's going on over there to be able to make a qualified pick. So I do like that rule. It's a touch of a modification. I don't think it's too much of a modification, though. We don't really need to go inside the rooms and see what's going on there to be able to count our picks today. So I do like that one.
The other rule, though, is that we need to include one of the Disneyland Resort hotels and resorts in the first two picks. It doesn't have to be your first. It doesn't have to be your second, but you have to choose it somewhere. Giving the Disneyland Resort a little bit of love. Tony, what do you think of that rule?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can ever count out Disneyland resorts.
See, there you go. All right, Eric. Well, because this is my topic, you have the first pick. So drafting the magic, the Walt Disney Company hotels and resorts in the United States. It actually covers a lot, but we're going to narrow it down. Here are our top five. Eric, your first pick.
All right, my first pick, after we talked about the rule about adding in the Disneyland Resort hotels, my thought was, do I have to grab one of them right out of the gate? And this is a decision that I've made literally within the last 30 seconds. I am not going to California to start my day. I'm going to go to Florida, and I'm going to take it off the board initially. I think this is the crown jewel of Walt Disney World. I'm going Grand Floridian. I'm taking it at number one. There is an array of different reasons I'm going to this. First of all, the dining is absolutely spectacular. The second one is proximity to Magic Kingdom and the proximity to the transportation center itself. You are in the middle of the action. You're not necessarily as close to Epcot and Hollywood Studios as you might like, but you're right there by the transportation center. It doesn't matter. I have to take Grand Floridian number one because it is so grandiose, because it's the crown jewel, and because it is just quintessentially Walt Disney World. Grand Floridian at number one.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I almost feel like that's not fair. Taking Grand Floridian number one.
Oh boy. Okay, so clearly Tony likes.
He got to take Rise of the Resistance number one last week, so I figured.
I heard that. Yeah.
I got to go with the layup this week.
Yeah, I mean, Grand Floridian's great. They actually have a really good music loop too. I don't know if you guys have ever listened to their music loop, but it is really good. They have a great background soundtrack.
It really kind of puts you in the feel. Like this is how you know you're at the Magic Kingdom and that you're all in. Yeah. You can just feel it when you walk through the doors.
Yep.
It's not a bad pick. I'll give it to you. That was a really good first pick, but that leaves a door open for me because that means that I will get my top Disneyland pick if I take it first, and I will get my next favorite Walt Disney World one because the next round you have to choose a Disneyland pick. So you kind of set yourself up for failure there, and I'm going to take advantage of it. Grand Floridian's great, but there is only one Disney hotel in the United States where there is an entrance to the theme park from that hotel, and that is Disney's Grand Californian Hotel and Spa here at the Disneyland Resort. It is absolutely beautiful inside and out. The brand new Craftsman Bar and Grill right by the water of the pool is amazing. And again, it is very convenient because you don't even have to get on a monorail to get into the theme park. You can go straight into Disney California Adventure. The food's great there. Napa Rose is amazing. Yeah, I mean, every single thing about Grand Floridian. Oh boy. All right, I just messed it all up. I'm already talking up your pick again. No, everything about the Grand Californian is great. That's why it's got to be my number one pick.
I like it. And first of all, I'm very proud of you for throwing out that stat about it's the only park that has or the only or resort hotel that has a park entrance attached to it. I was going to use that exact fact if I was going to take Grand Californian. So I'm very proud of you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Tony, what do you think of Grand Californian?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the best hotel in California besides the Howard Johnson across the street. But
ooh, hot take there. Hot take.
I actually do like the Howard Johnson across the street, but no, the Grand California, it's second to none. Especially like during the holidays, during Halloween, during Christmas time, they have carolers, they have the big Christmas tree, the entrance to the parks. Yeah, I mean honestly, it's probably the best California resort.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right about that. Now we'll move to my number two pick, which look. With all due respect to our good friends who make the Paradise Pier Hotel operate and work flawlessly day in and day out, I got to go with the Disneyland Hotel at number two. I have to take a California hotel here. And as much as I wanted the crown jewel in Florida, I got the original in California. And the big thing about the charm in California has always been that this is the original. And this was Walt's baby from the get-go. This is what started it all. And the Disneyland Hotel was the first Disney-themed place that you could stay and then go and enjoy your park visit right afterwards. So I'll take the Disneyland Hotel and all of its many refurbishments that have happened throughout the years.
And are currently happening.
And that are currently happening, right? We're getting a vacation club tower that's going to get added hopefully soon. So Disneyland Hotel for me at number two.
Yeah, I mean the Disneyland Hotel is great, and I have a lot of memories from the Disneyland Hotel. Like when I was younger and I couldn't go to the parks, like my grandma, she would still take me to the Disneyland Hotel, and we would walk around. And they had like a nighttime water show. I remember this. I don't remember what it was called, but I remember maybe once or twice a year, we wouldn't even go to Disneyland. We would get dinner somewhere, and then we would just watch the water show that they had at the hotel. So the Disneyland Hotel definitely has a lot of memories for me.
Yeah, that was back before they had 1,200 fountains in California Adventure they could shoot up in the air, and it was cool at the time. I remember the old Disneyland Hotel very well. From my childhood, I remember the pool being completely different than what it is currently. But I love the changes they've made, and you can't talk about Disneyland Hotel, and I'm almost offended that Eric did this. You can't talk about it without mentioning Trader Sam's.
That was my next point. I was gonna let you wrap up what you were gonna talk about.
Yeah, I mean Trader Sam's is amazing. It's such an immersive location, but you've got Tangaroa Terrace right next door that's got great grub if you're looking to eat something by the pool. It's a great pick for your second pick.
If we're talking about all time, also, I mean, it's hard for me not to mention Lost Bar. I spent a lot of time hanging out over there, where they're just grabbing nachos late before I was, able to partake in libations. But and when it was announced they were going to redo it, there was a lot of feelings there. Like, what are you going to do to this thing? And it's better than it ever was before. I'm so glad we have Trader Sam's and Tangaroa Terrace.
I've actually never been to Trader Sam's still.
Whoa.
I know. We've tried going so many times, and it's always like an hour and a half wait, and I end up just never being able to go. And I get so upset because I see so many people just with like these awesome drinks and just the atmosphere, and I end up just at Grand California.
Well, and that's proof that something's amazing, right? Is because it always has an hour wait. You can get there at noon, and you still will wait to get inside if you want a seat inside at all. And I highly suggest anybody who's never been to the Disneyland Resort, when you do finally come out here, go over to Trader Sam's, check it out. Try to step inside if they let you inside, because it's a whole different world. And that is a very good number 2 pick by Eric, as he had to choose a Disneyland Resort hotel or resort. And boy, did he with the Disneyland Hotel, the original that opened way back in 1955. But now I get to choose my number one Walt Disney World pick. You didn't take it because it's not Grand Floridian, although Grand Floridian is amazing. It is on the monorail track, though. I've got to go with the Polynesian. The Polynesian is absolutely beautiful. It is if not the best themed resort, just it's got to be a close second. I mean, Grand Floridian's great. There's so many out there that we'll get to that are amazing at that, but the Polynesian resort, where every single inch of that resort is very well themed. I like how the buildings are separated, so it's not just one big hotel building. Kind of like how the Grand Floridian was, but they've branched out. They've got more buildings as well. I'm a spread out guy. I'm not a one hotel building guy. Even though I chose the Grand Californian as my number one, but that's not important. What is important is that I am taking the Polynesian as my number 2 pick. Tony, what do you think of Poly?
Oh, Polynesian is a beautiful resort, and I'm actually really excited to see what they do with the Moana updates. I think it's actually, I mean, I know some people complained about it, but I think it's going to be great. And I trust Disney enough I'm always the thinker. I think them moving forward is always a great thing. And I'm excited to see what they do with it. Also, the Ohana breakfast that you can get and all that. I mean, you can't go wrong with the Polynesian.
Oh, did I make the error and not talk about Ohana in my description?
Well, and you also didn't talk about Trader Sam's. How dare you?
Oh, you're right.
But I love Polynesian, a place I've never stayed and always wanted to. But I'll tell you what, if Ohana ain't on my stop list every time I go to Florida, I'd be lying to you. You got to go to Ohana. Probably my favorite restaurant, any Disney restaurant, really.
Definitely. And are they the only resort that sells the Dole Whips too in Florida? I think they might be.
I believe so. In Florida, yeah. And you can get them with the just like at Disneyland Hotel, you can get them with something extra inside that makes everybody a little happier. But yeah, that. The Polynesian's great. I mean, I even remember going back to when we were playing in the pool. They used to have that giant volcano water slide. It's been adjusted a little bit since I was a kid, but we would always take the boats out from the marina there. I mean, the Polynesian's such a great resort, and that's why it's my number 2 pick, my top Walt Disney World pick. And now we move on to round 3.
All right, round 3. Here we go. I don't know if this will surprise you. Maybe it will. But for the final time, I'm also going to go on that monorail loop again. Because this hotel, for me, it strikes the same chord emotionally as when I walk into Epcot every time. That it feels like it's old school futuristic. And so I'm going to take the contemporary at number 3. When I was younger, going to Chef Mickey's, when I was real little, getting off the monorail inside the hotel, walking down, going to have the character breakfast, then walking back up and getting on the monorail, which, by the way, goes right through the hotel. And when you're that young and you get to see something like that for the first time, your jaw's on the floor. And while you're sitting there and eating, of course, Chef Mickey's is open air, but inside, right? It's not really its own contained building. It's inside the hotel itself, so you can look up and just keep watching that monorail go in a loop while you're sitting there at 4 or 5 years old. But that's the best memory for me at the contemporary. Plus, look at that structure. Every time you pull up and see that thing off into the distance, you're at Disney World, and that the Imagineers were able to create something that was never seen before with the rooms that had to be slotted in by crane, and it just has the triangular and those type of shapes. I'm taking contemporary at number 3.
That's a really great number 3, and I like the comparison to Epcot. Like I said with the Grand Floridian, I love the music loop. For the contemporary too, it kind of has that like weird, like kind of futuristic, like music you would kind of hear at Epcot. Also the artwork. The only bad thing I have to say about the contemporary, I've never eaten there, but I've heard horror stories of Chef Mickey's, how just insane it gets there. I haven't experienced the Chef Mickey, so I will definitely try it the next time I go. I think I might stay there my next trip, so definitely gonna try it. But yeah, no, that's a great choice.
You're going to have to let me know how that goes, because my experience of Chef Mickey's came when I was 5 years old, and that was years ago. So I'm sure it was a lot different back then than it is now. I didn't even bring up California Grill either, and how great of a restaurant it is. I went with everything else that I remember about the Contemporary, but
and you also get like a great view of the fireworks there from there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
California Grill's amazing. I just got to go there on one of my last trips earlier this year. Very nice setting, and you like you had said, Tony, the fireworks. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that because of the times that we are in. No fireworks shows going on right now, but it was still super cool to go up and just see such a great view. But the Contemporary Resort is always one of those where I'm like, I've got to stay there at some point. I've got to know what that's like. And the concept of being able to pull hotel rooms out, change them, and then put them back in was always a cool concept. Never really happened, but it was always a cool concept. And so Contemporary is a good pick. I am surprised, though, and I'd love to know if you guys are surprised about this at all. The first 3 picks of our Walt Disney World side all are on the monorail.
I was wondering if you were going to go in line with what my strategy was, and much to my surprise, you did. You stuck with my original thoughts. So I don't know if I'm proud of you or upset. I can't figure it out. Strategy-wise, I'm upset, but as a lifelong Disney fan, I'm very proud.
I'm pretty surprised, actually. Like I figured all those were going to be in the top 5, but I didn't know they would be in the top 3. So yeah. I am kind of excited to see where these last 2 go now. Especially now I get to kind of get an idea of what resorts you like to stay at that are closer to Epcot, Animal Kingdom.
Yeah. He said Epcot. He said my favorite word.
That's my jam right there. Is I like to stay next to Epcot and Animal Kingdom for sure.
Well, see, if you're staying next to Animal Kingdom, you're staying 3.5 miles away from everything else. But
true.
But there are some good resorts near Animal Kingdom. But this is not qualified as one of those. This one's tough for me. So I have 3 other picks in this, right? 3, 4, and 5, and I have 3 resorts on my mind. The question is strategically picking them against Erik, because I don't know where he's been. I don't know what he's experienced. So I am going to go away from the Magic Kingdom area on this one and go to a resort that encompasses, first off, an amazing theme, but also has so much to do there, whether it's restaurants, games, different little shops. There's nothing like walking around the boardwalk. And then, of course, going over to Epcot. There's so many things to do with the boardwalk resort. I think it's a great resort to go with. I love the Big River Bar down there, or the bar and grill, the brewery that they've got. They've got the Abracadabra Magic Bar they've got down there. There's just so much to do with the boardwalk. So strategically, I don't know if it would be my next pick on this list, but strategically, I want to take something really cool, and that's the boardwalk.
I think boardwalk is just so great because, I feel like once the parks close, your night doesn't have to finish when you're staying there. You can walk around. There's still, you have, is it still open? ESPN Zone there? They have...
Yeah, the ESPN Club over there.
Jelly Rolls. I know Jelly Rolls is closed now. I'm not sure if or when they're opening back up. But you just have so much cool different things that you can do, and your night doesn't necessarily need to end. I mean, I know you can always go to Disney Springs, but it is cool to just have your resort right there.
By the way, gentlemen, a hot take from a good friend of mine. I have not tested this out yet, but I have been told that at Flying Fish over there on the boardwalk, you will find the best steak at Walt Disney World. I've never been, but that's some high praise. So maybe something to check out next time y'all go.
That's good. I frequent ESPN Club quite a bit now when I go out there. Shocking to everybody who knows me.
I enjoy the ESPN Zone only because the California location closed. And when I go there, I like to just get a really, like, sometimes I do crave just a nice cheap beer. And it's really nice just to kind of go there and enjoy a cheap beer and some fries and watch a game if there's an important game going on.
Fun fact, Fun fact about the ESPN Club. We were there one time and we were playing sports trivia, and my dad was on a roll, and we won 2 Dan Patrick bobbleheads while we were there. So there's your random fact of the day.
I like that. I actually won a t-shirt playing that trivia over there. And here's something for you, Tony, that we didn't talk about before we came on and started recording this. I actually spent almost 10 years of my professional career at ESPN Zone in Anaheim. Shout out to all my friends and all my former cast members at ESPN Zone. We had a wonderful time. I was on the closing crew with everybody over there. So
you were definitely my server, or you were. We definitely have bumped shoulders a few times for sure.
We probably have. It was my job to make sure that all the games went on the TVs properly. So
I definitely bugged you then at one point.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I miss it every day. But a little shout out to all my former cast members. All right, let's move on. We'll go to number 4. And Boardwalk was on my list originally, but I had it a lot lower. So you grabbing it there actually makes me feel a little bit better about myself, because now I don't have to worry about it, and I can backfill exactly where I wanted to. This one, I'm going more in the value to moderate range, because I think this particular resort is an attraction in itself. I had the both misfortune and fortune to stay at this resort during Hurricane Irma in 2017. And I say fortunate because of how well they took care of everybody, and of how much you can be entertained when you're locked up in your family suite for a couple of days. I'm taking the Art of Animation Resort. This is a place that you can walk around and you can see all these gigantic sculptures. It really is the heart and soul of Disney in a resort, right? You see the animation, you can see some of the sketches that they use, and they plaster it on the walls in the lobby. And it's a very, very colorful resort. You can walk to different wings of the resort itself and just take pictures with all the different sculptures they have everywhere, whether it's, Finding Nemo related, or Cars, Little Mermaid, or Lion King. I was fortunate enough to stay in the Lion King family suite. So I had Timon and Pumbaa looking me over while the winds were howling down there in Central Florida. So I love the pool areas too. They have the bar next to the pool out there. It's a very short walk now to the Skyliner, which of course is over the Hourglass Lake there in between that resort and the Pop Century. So I will take Art of Animation at number 4, and quite possibly the best experience I've ever had at a Walt Disney World resort, even though there was a hurricane.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Art of Animation is just Pop times 100. I mean, I feel like Pop and Art of Animation have a lot in common, but Art of Animation just does everything Pop does just a little better. I mean, there's a reason why I think guests from Pop walk over to Art of Animation for their buffet. And you also have newer Disney characters that, if you're there with your family, maybe you're there with younger kids, they can take photos with some newer characters. And also they have the Skyliner just like Pop, but what was it? They also have the family suites though for families too. They have a lot more options, I think, if you're going with a family.
Interesting little bit of history about the Art of Animation Resort. It actually was supposed to be the other half of Pop Century. But what happened was back in after 9/11 and after the downturn in the economy, they decided to abandon that half. And then later on, as time went on, they reinvested and were able to turn it into the Art of Animation Resort. That's why the Little Mermaid rooms are single rooms, just like Pop Century, because they had already built that one wing. And then the other 3 wings became the family suites, right? The Cars, the Finding Nemo, and the Lion King. And they just kind of rethemed it. It was supposed to be the 50s, the 40s, the 30s, and 20s of Pop Century, and it turned into all the other themed areas. So yes, it shares at its core, it shares a soul with Pop Century, even though, like you said, Tony, it became Pop Century on steroids.
No, yeah, definitely. And I mean, it is a lot pricier than Pop, but I think overall, for the family suites, you can't beat it at Disney World. It's a really good option.
I still remember my first visit to, and I believe my only visit over to Art of Animation. I was walking around, I was taking pictures of the Cars area, because it's amazing. You see Lightning McQueen and Mater and Red and even DJ here at the Disneyland Resort, but to see some of the other characters like Flo and Sheriff and Ramon all over there, right? I was taking pictures and I'm like, this looks like an animation. It doesn't look like I'm actually taking pictures. The way the shadows was perfect that it literally just looked like it was a picture. And so I think the upkeep of those has to be insane to make sure that they all stay polished and well taken care of. But kudos to that team. They do a great job at that. So that will lead me into my 4th round pick. And with my 4th pick, I almost feel like I'm cheating myself out. And I hope that Tony doesn't see it that way. I'm sure Eric will see it that way. But I am going to choose a resort that looks exactly like my first pick. I've got to go with the Wilderness Lodge, a little bit down the road from Magic Kingdom. They have easily my favorite buffet in the entire resort. They have the Whispering Canyon Cafe where I can destroy family style barbecue. And that, I mean, there is just something to that. But I also think that the resort is absolutely beautiful. They've added 2 different Disney Vacation Club locations to the resort. The latest one being Copper Creek, where you have those beautiful cabin-looking suites. It's just a beautiful resort. They have easily my favorite bar, Geyser Point, which is right on the water. It's just a beautiful resort. I shouldn't say it looks exactly like Grand Californian because it's about 6 or 7 times the size of it. And it is what clearly inspired the Grand Californian, along with the craftsman style artwork that California is known for. It has a little bit of Wilderness Lodge to it. And Wilderness Lodge is going to be my number 4 pick.
That's a great pick. I've never stayed there, but I've heard so many great stories about Geyser Point. So my next trip, it's definitely a item. It's been on a bucket list item of mine to go to Geyser Point. I hear it's just probably one of, if not the best bar at Disney World.
Yeah, I've never been there myself. Christian, you're right. Looks like it's very similar to the Grand Californian as far as theming and all that is concerned. Obviously, it's not really the same in much any way other than that. But hey, you sell me on a good bar.
Oh my gosh!
Just have to make a stop.
I mean, it's easily the best scenic bar I've ever been to because you're right on the water. Now, granted, if you're there in August, it's not as pleasant as it could be at certain times of the year. But the menu there is great, both drinks and food. Oh my gosh, absolutely amazing. I will say I don't eat at Geyser Point because I've already stuffed myself at Whispering Canyon by the time I go over. But Geyser Point's just amazing. They built it right along the water, and when they were doing expansion, it's amazing.
Yeah, I also hear it's another great resort, like during the holidays, just like Grand California. So it's a good number 4. You did kind of, you could have picked something a little different, but
oh boy, Eric's feeling good right now.
I'm feeling okay. All right, I got to make my final pick and try to wrap things up and tie everything together. So I'm going to go a little bit further south on the map in Disney World, in a place that is themed even further south of the border entirely. Ooh. I'm going to take Coronado Springs at number 5. This is a place I stayed at 2 trips ago at a great bar, right? You got to have that. They make some great margaritas, as one would expect at a place called Coronado Springs. They built the brand new Gran Destino Tower, which is a sight to behold. I'll tell you right now, they had just started construction when I was staying there, but now it looks great. It was the home to many an NBA player recently when they were in the bubble down there in Orlando. They have the real big lake in the middle, and they have the pool on the other side. You can walk around and just have. I got to experience a lot of good walks at night, whether it was late at night, just kind of walking around the lake and across the bridges, and just kind of exploring the massive footprint that is the Coronado Springs Resort. It takes up a lot of space, that's for sure. A lot of times you have to grab a bus if you're staying in the back part of the campus, I'll call it, to get around to the front. And also for me, it's probably one of the more quieter resorts that I've ever stayed at. It is got the big business center. So there's a lot of businesses and conventions that would normally come through there. So, a lot of individual travelers. So there's not a whole lot of commotion going on. Whatever they're doing is taking place in the convention center. So it tended to be a lot more quiet than some of the other places, even with the pool around. I love Coronado Springs. I love the theming, a lot of the Adobe style buildings there in the back. And of course, with the new addition, how can you go wrong? I'm taking Coronado Springs as my final pick.
Coronado Springs was where we stayed our last trip. And Danny and I, we loved it. The theming's great. And I like what you said about like the walks at night, because I did it as well. It's a very relaxing resort. It's very different. Like for some reason, like I feel like if you're going on an adult trip, like this is a really good moderate resort to stay at. It's very relaxing, and after like a long day at the parks, I think it's a really great park to kind of wind down at. They have a great bar. They have a good sports bar. I didn't try the Mexican restaurant that they have there though.
It was good. I enjoyed it, especially after, like I said, after a long day. And it is the most air-conditioned lobby I've ever been in my life. I don't know what they do over there, but they pulled it off.
Yeah. So I definitely, Coronado Springs, I would suggest it for anyone that wants to stay at a moderate resort and going on an adult trip. Definitely. Maybe not so much for kids because the theming is a little, but it's still a really nice resort.
All right. Well, I have never been to Coronado Springs. So that is one that I can only say I've seen on TV with basketball courts in the convention center there as their little practice facility. I thought that was ridiculous, by the way. But, you do what you got to do in crazy times. But I've never been to Coronado Springs. I've heard great things. I've seen that tower in person, and it is gigantic. It looks great. So a good pick with your final pick being Coronado Springs. My final pick is going to be, and I can't believe I'm saying this, this is going to be the first of our picks that I've actually stayed at, because I have not stayed at any of the other hotels on our list.
Wow.
That doesn't mean they're not great. It just means that I haven't stayed there. But I mean, I love visiting the resorts. I absolutely want to go to every single one I've mentioned so far and stay there. But sometimes the food is what draws me in, I will be honest. So we do that. My final resort, I'm going to take some heat online for only taking deluxe resorts and not giving any love to the moderates or to the good old value resorts. But my Disney Vacation Club home resort of Old Key West has to be on this list. Olivia's is one of my favorite restaurants to do breakfast at. It's quick, it's easy. The pool with the lighthouse is a iconic look with that sandcastle water slide. You can also go golfing on the resort. There's boat transportation from there over to Disney Springs. There's so much, and I will say it might just be because I grew up there, right? My folks had DVC. We grew up going to Old Key West once every other year or something like that. I love it, though. I love Old Key West. It is that exact same kind of relaxing feel as opposed to a hustle-bustle resort. Very widespread out. You might need a bus to get around to different locations. But my favorite resort that I've ever stayed at, because it's the only one on this list that I've stayed at, is Old Key West.
That's a great pick. I've never stayed there. But our last trip, I remember it was our off day, and we were at Disney Springs, and we're like, oh, let's take the boat somewhere. And we took the boat to Old Key West. And I think Danny and I, we spent like probably a good couple hours just hanging out at Old Key West, walking around, and we really enjoyed it. And after that, I was like, you know what? We definitely need to stay here. It seems like, just like you said, very relaxing, a good resort for an off day. It seems like there's just you can just wander around there probably for a good probably half a day just exploring, and there's so much to see and do there. The pool looks awesome too with the lighthouse. So yeah, that's definitely a great last pick.
I'm looking over our two lists here, and I have stayed at the Grand Californian, which is on your list, Christian. Yep. But combined, I have only stayed at two of the resorts I picked, and you only stayed at one. You and I have some recon work we need to do next time we get out there.
There's so many resorts, and they keep building new resorts. I envy the people that have stayed at every single resort.
Yeah, first off, must be nice.
How do you do this?
Must be nice to bounce.
What do you do for work? Tell me what you do.
Life goals for us, that's for sure. All right, should we recap what we have here, Christian, or do you want to get Tony's thoughts real quick on what he would have picked that we didn't?
Yeah, you know what? Let's get Tony's first. Tony, what would you choose that's not on this list? Are there any that you would have picked that didn't make our lists?
I definitely think I would have picked Animal Kingdom Lodge, just because I'm a big Animal Kingdom fan. You can see the animals, explore there. I'd probably pick Pop as well, just for the Skyliner and the convenience and the price point. And, no, honestly, you guys pretty much picked any resort that I have enjoyed or I would like to stay at one day.
I'm
surprised Paradise Pier didn't get any the 30-minute walk to the theme park.
Oh, man.
Oh, I love my friends over at Paradise Pier. But
I do love the sandbar though on the very the top in the pool area. That is my jam. I do enjoy that bar a lot.
Yeah, we were only allowed to take one each though, so that's the way that the rules fell into place. What are you going to do?
I can't believe you didn't pick it over Grand California.
I will say about the Animal Kingdom Lodge, I figured that was the one we were going to get a lot of flack about. I actually wasn't sure if Christian had been there yet or not. I have not, so I couldn't touch it. And it was the one that I thought would end me here today, but I'm so glad he didn't take it, or I'm not even sure if he was even eligible to take it, but I'm glad it didn't make the list just for my own sanity.
I will answer that question right now. That was an eligible pick, and I did not take it. And
I'm shocked.
I'm already mad at myself because I remember at the very beginning of this, Tony saying that he likes staying near Epcot and Animal Kingdom, and only thing I thought of when he said near Animal Kingdom was the All-Star Resorts. So I'm very disappointed in myself, but hopefully that doesn't kill me.
I do want to come back on, and I want to do a list of the worst resorts. I think that would be a good time.
Oh, yeah, that one will stir up a lot of emotions. All right, let's recap what we have here so we can get to judgment. We'll start with my top 5: the Grand Floridian, the Disneyland Hotel, the Contemporary, Art of Animation, and Coronado Springs. And for Christian, he went Grand Californian, the Polynesian, the Boardwalk, Wilderness Lodge, and Old Key West. Mr. Barnes, who won today's episode of Drafting the Magic?
The winner for this week's episode of Drafting the Magic is going to go to you, Eric. You picked Best Resorts. I think you put more thought, and I think you put more thought into your guesses, and I appreciate you went to, you did some value, some moderate, and some deluxe resorts as well.
My strategy every show is to have a variety, right? I'm not just going to pick all deluxe resorts, or I'm not just going to go all moderate or all value, whatever. There needs to be some sort of a mix, because eventually people are going to get around out there a few times and they're going to want to change it up and see what they can get for a little bit more money. Yeah. Exactly. But more importantly, the losing streak has finally come to a close. And I know I can now experience what Christian experienced after breaking a losing streak. So thank you. Thank you for the vote of confidence.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, Christian just, wanted to pick the money bag resorts. I couldn't let that happen.
Hey, listen, all right, there's something to be said about the money, but I agree. There is something to be said about the moderate and the value resorts. And I said I'm going to take heat for not choosing any of them. I didn't think I was going to take heat in the judgment of it, but here we are. But there are some amazing resorts. And even here at the Disneyland Resort, the Disneyland Hotel is not the Grand Californian, right? But it's still an amazing hotel. And so there is something to be said about that, but I am going to go and crawl into a hole and not come out for a week because I can't believe I lost the hotels episode. I am heartbroken, and this might be the toughest loss I have had so far, just because of how much I love all the resorts at the Disneyland and Disney World Resort. But first off, neither of us had been to Aulani, right? So we couldn't take Aulani. So if anybody's mad about that, listen, continental United States. Also, we've never been to Vero Beach, and we've also never been to Hilton Head. But the pick has been made, and Eric is the winner of the Hotels and Resorts Drafting the Magic Draft.
Look, I honestly think we did the best we could. Knowing the places we were eligible to select, I really thought you were going to take Animal Kingdom. And I'm glad you didn't, because it worked out in the end. But when I look back at the top 5 for each, I honestly think Tony had maybe the toughest decision anybody's had so far in one of these shows, because I think we honestly nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, there's honestly not one bad Disney resort, really, when you think about it. So that was a really hard choice for me to make.
Well, I'm also gonna argue that the All-Stars are not bad places. We can go ahead and say that they might be in the quote unquote worst show if we do them, but when you say worst and in the same sentence with what Disney has done, really their worst is better than everybody else's best. So you can't go wrong.
Tony, thank you so much for joining us. Folks, go out and listen to Mouse Park Insider. They've got a great podcast over there. We appreciate you listening to our podcast, but go check theirs out. They've got a good one as well. And Tony, despite you giving Erik the win, thank you so much for joining us, my man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate that dub.
Oh, I thought I would never have to feel this feeling again. Back in the loss column on a topic that I was really looking forward to. And I'm pretty down about this one, but Erik, congratulations.
Well, thank you, sir. Look, you were going to lose eventually. I mean, obviously the topic for this one makes it a little bit tougher. I'm going to be honest with you. When we talked about doing the show, I wasn't sure how great a discussion it was going to end up being, just because we haven't stayed at a lot of these places, but we've been there, we've seen it. And then when I started researching like what I wanted to do for my picks, I started realizing this is actually going to be a pretty fun conversation. And it turned out it was. Tony was a great judge, not just for, his decision, but I think we were able to touch on a lot of the great points of the places we've been to. And there were a lot that we didn't even talk about.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is there are so many that we didn't talk about. You got to think about Caribbean Beach, right? Feels like it's been there forever, but they just bulldozed half of it and built a brand new resort in Riviera, which I actually got to visit a little while ago, earlier this year. Very different, a different resort than you're used to. The lobby is probably the smallest hotel lobby I've ever been in my life, but that is because they don't want you lingering in the lobby. They want you going and spending money, and sitting in a chair in the lobby gets them absolutely nothing. So it's funny how we kind of thought about that as we were there, but Riviera is beautiful. I mean, just a beautiful resort. Not my style. I'm not the Grand Floridian Riviera kind of, French or European style, but a beautiful resort. At Saratoga Springs, there's so many resorts that we didn't mention.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Port Orleans. We didn't talk about, the yacht club. We didn't talk about Bay Lake
Yacht
Tower.
Club, Beach Club, all of them.
Beach Club, yeah, all of them. I mean, I know the Swan and Dolphin are not technically owned by Disney, but, they're part of the conversation because it's just part of the culture down there. But, I know the All-Stars get a lot of flack for what they are, but like we talked about, I mean, Disney's worst is better than a lot of other people's best. So
yeah,
just so many different places, which kind of ties into the experience of going to the parks. Like each resort is kind of a theme park in itself, just because of how many different themes there are. And you can go down there 30 different times and stay at 30 different places.
Well, and I know when we've talked about this before, and I know you're not on this list, right? You're more of the, we got to go to the theme park, we got to do everything. I could go to Disney World for a week and not step foot in a theme park and be happy because of that. Because every single resort is like its own theme park. Obviously, there's not giant vehicles that are taking you into different places, but the theming's amazing at every single Disney World resort. And sure, the All-Star Sports get their bad rap because they are the value resort. That's what you're paying for. But you're paying for a pretty cool experience. I mean, they have a Mighty Ducks pool, like over at the movies.
You're going to bring that up.
Come on, like there's so many cool things at all of the resorts. I think about all the resorts and go, man, we we didn't put Animal Kingdom Lodge on our list. Now, you were not eligible for that. I am going to be the one that takes the heat for that, probably forever and always. But there's so many great resorts to go view and see, and we left a number of them off of our list just because there are so many. I mean, even Fort Wilderness. People love going over to Fort Wilderness and staying in the cabins or taking their RV, which I would argue is not staying at a Disney World resort. But anyway, that's not important. You're paying to be on Disney property, I guess. But again, the resorts are so amazing that there were going to be some good ones left off our list, and I lost, and I'm not happy about it.
Well, and to your credit, you have always said you could go to Disney World for a week and not step foot in a theme park and be happy. You've said that verbatim a few times, which really speaks to how well everything down there is done. I know that you're going to be headed back out there soon, so have fun,
yes.
Safe travels, and all that between now and our next show. So I hope you have a great time down there, and tell the resort hi for me, because I miss it dearly, and I hope
absolutely.
I can get back to
Staying at the beach club too. Staying at a resort I've never stayed at. I've been to the beach club. Beaches and Cream, by the way, one of the greatest spots. Like,
if you don't find out a way how to freeze something or keep it maintained and ship it home to me, or at least bring it back, you and I are going to exchange some words on the next show.
That's fair. Well, I'll try to figure that out. You said that same thing to me when I went to Philadelphia. Look, listen, all right, shipping food's not as easy as you make it sound. But yeah, so that's going to be a little bit of a thing to go to. But and I guess I will kind of tease the next topic, even though it's your topic. Just because I'm going to Walt Disney World does not mean I can do recon for our next show.
Nope, you cannot. And I hope you're prepared, because we're going to be talking food and beverage next week. And when I say food and beverage, I do not mean food and.
Oh, wow. Just saying it straight out. Look at that.
Yeah. Yep, I am not beating around the bush. It's time for me to try to even up the score.
Well,
and I'm bringing reinforcements with me.
Yeah, I know. We'll talk about that when we come back to this in about a week, folks. Once again, head over to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Find Drafting the Magic on all of those different spots. Twitter, you got to look for @DraftingMagic, but everywhere else, you can look up @Drafting the Magic. Play along with our polls, answer the questions we're putting out there. We want to know what you thought was better. We did a blue milk or green milk poll last week, and it was all blue milk. All blue milk. No one voted green milk. And at least as of when we recorded this. So I'm just saying that might be something to think about for the next episode.
I did vote early on after you posted that poll, and of course I voted for blue milk. But at that time, the vote was only 1-0, and I hadn't checked back since. So my goodness,
yeah, it is not one. We are in multiple digits. I will say that, and
wow,
not one has gone green, at least to my knowledge. So that being said, we're excited for next week's show, and we hope you can join us when I try to get back on the W column. I'm not happy right now, but we're gonna get back when we're doing beverages.
6'5", I'm coming for you.